Good afternoon, class. Today we are going to prepare you for a mini lab on omelet making. I have two assistants here who will be doing some of the tasks as well as me doing a little demonstration work for you. For our omelet lab, you are going to need 2 eggs that have been beaten with maybe 1 to 2 teaspoons of milk. And you would use the whisk in order to do that. There are 2 whisks in your lab drawer. One looks like this, one looks like this. Either are fine. It's a matter of personal preference. So we're gonna have my partner here beat that and make sure it's all ready to go. Next, you're gonna be working with an omelet pan, all right? This is what it's gonna look like. Be great if it would have a cover. And you are going to need to understand that your first step will be to heat it. Small omelet pan, small burner. You need to heat it on a medium to medium high temperature, and then when you're ready to add the eggs, you'd spray over a garbage can, over your sink. Make sure you're not spraying over the floor because people can slip and slide then. Okay, so that's currently heating a little bit, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit about grating. You can choose to use American cheese or you can grate cheese. And your grater is located above the sink in this cupboard. And when you do the grating, you are going to use a plate like this. And you are going to make sure that this is the size hole you use for doing the grating. Okay? Got people here looking. So we're setting that aside just so you're aware and you're prepared for lab. The other thing we're going to ask you to do when you're working in lab is to try your best to use this tray and your measuring equipment to do things in one trip. If you know that you've got to collect an egg or 2 eggs or 4 eggs, whatever, make sure you bring something to put it in so they're not sliding around. Make sure if you've got spices, say I'm going to put a little salt and a little pepper. There is no problem with putting both of those in the same container. And if you look above your sink, you have custard cups right here in this cupboard that you can use to put things in. Some students might want to break the eggs up there at the front and then add the milk right away so it's all set and ready to go. If you're making 1 omelet, this bowl would work, but if you're making 2 or 3, you would need a bigger bowl. Okay, if you need a bigger bowl, this is the cabinet where you would find the bigger bowls. Now, this has been heating for a little while. It would be nice if we could let it heat longer, but we're on a time crunch. So we're gonna ask that you kind of feel like this, and if you feel heat emanating, don't touch the pan. It's time for you to spray the pan with your cooking spray over the garbage can. And then she is immediately going to use the rubber scraper, and she is going to pour, rubber scraper, the egg into the pan and cover it. And she's going to scrape the bowl out really good. Perfect. Okay, now remember what we said about cleaning as you go. We're handing the dish over here. She's washing, rinsing, putting these dishes in to dry. Remember, hot water on the right side, as hot as you can stand it, couple inches with a little soap. Leave this open for rinsing dishes, washing produce, and then you've got a mat and a dish rack that go to the left in this particular lab. All right, so this is something that she's gonna do. She's gonna keep an eye on this, and if she doesn't want to use a larger rubber scraper, we do have some smaller ones, but she's going to, as this cooks, and can you see, can our filmer get up here? Okay, you'll see it's starting to get done. What she's going to start doing is she's going to pull the edges and tip the pan. And she's going to kind of mix it in the center so that the cooked egg builds up in the center. And while she's keeping an eye on that and making sure that continues to happen, we're going to talk about working with fruit. All right, we have several knives that we'd be working with. This is the Santoku knife. This is a basic utility knife. And then we also have our French chef's knife right here and our paring knife. All of these are things you could use to work with fruit. Now, remember when we have a cutting board, if there are not grips, we need to put a damp cloth underneath that cutting board. as far as which knife you choose to use, and again, this is where you need to kind of stand to see, you are going to be slicing kiwi, at least 2 or 3 slices per omelet, and to cut this appropriately, I know they talk about using a spoon, and I know they talk about saying you can use the skin, but I don't like it. And I find when you try to remove the skin with the spoon, kids kind of squish it up more than they are effective with getting, you know, their product prepared. So anytime you work with fresh produce, you need to wash it with cool water, dry it with paper towel. For the kiwi, you'll take a sharp knife and you will cut the ends of the kiwi off. Then you will very carefully slice down each of these sides, like so, trying to waste as little as possible. And my assistant is going to get a cereal bowl to put this in once she finishes cutting this up, because we're going to share this cutting board a little bit. Once I get this peeled, I'm going to show her how I want it sliced. Now, she's also going to grab a paper towel for me, and what I'd like to see you do is take your peelings and anything yucky like that, and we'll put a paper towel right there, and we'll kind of wrap that up to discard it. Okay, so to make life easier for slicing, you're going to cut each kiwi down the center, and then you don't want to make the slices too thin. I would say between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. Slices will look sort of like this, okay? She's going to do that with this entire kiwi, and she's going to put it into this bowl. We're going to kind of scoot over. Now, let's take a look at the egg. It looks like it's pretty much ready. And we were hoping that you would keep an eye on it while you're cooking and adjust the heat accordingly. So, how are we going to flip this? Yeah, you can flip it in the air. We're not going to do that because you're new to this. You're going to use the rubber scraper, and you're going to use your flipper, and you're basically going to turn it like that, okay? You're going to return it to the heat, put it way low, and then she's going to break a slice of American cheese over the top of it, and she's going to put a little, and you can just put that right on top, and then she's going to put some of this on, you know, just a couple of little handfuls. She's going to sprinkle that on the top, and she's going to put the cover on it. Heat's turned off. Whatever is left in that pan should, heat-wise, allow the cheese to melt. So she's going to sprinkle that a little bit. Okay, she's finished with the kiwi. Now we've got another thing. I got a strawberry that's pretty big, so you can see it on the camera. There is a damaged portion to it. Now, even though I could basically switch to a different knife, I recommend she wash this knife, and I'll use this paring knife to show you about this damaged area. It's just discoloration, so I would recommend if you get a strawberry and you've washed it and you've dried it, and you know, you see some parts that don't look so great, you can just simply cut that off, okay? Now, how would I go about making a strawberry fan? If this knife is too small because you're dealing with a pretty large strawberry here, you can choose to use the claw, tuck in your thumb, tuck in your fingers, and you're gonna just slice downward, but not all the way through, and you're gonna make sure that the top of the strawberry, you know, with the green part, is laying against the cutting board. And you're going to just make slices every 1/4 inch apart, and then you'll know you did this well because you're going to press it and it's going to fan out like this. Now remember, I cut off that icky part. We're going to make sure that's laying on the bottom. So that's off to the side here. I'm also going to make sure maybe I have an arrangement with a couple pieces of kiwi. All right, now I know that we're probably not going to be dealing with this a lot, but how is the cheese looking there? It's getting to be melted. Hopefully in a little bit, we'll be set. Okay, this is navel orange. You can use slices of orange as well. I don't think we'll be working with that in lab tomorrow because we don't have enough, but I want you to know a simple way to slice these. Can you wash this one really fast? Okay, instead of peeling by hand, you're going to cut off both the ends, okay? And then of course we've got our little paper towel here we'll wrap it up in. And then this is the tricky part, and if you can't see, I'm going to take the knife and I'm going to basically try to slice in a curved manner around the edge, like so. And I'm going to try my best not to waste any of this. I mean, ironically, if I were being really, really smart, I might have even saved the zest for this orange for another recipe, before I did the slicing, but that'll be for another demo. So notice how I'm kind of making a curve motion. I'm following the shape of the fruit. One side's good, next side, maybe not so good. So we are slicing any of the rind off. The rind tastes bitter, and I personally think if you can get rid of most of that, it's edible, it's not going to hurt you, but you know, you'll have a better quality product. Okay, I think we've gotten rid of most of that, and you've got a good view here. What I think can also happen as a cutting technique, rather than holding it like so, is to grip the orange, put it, you know, on the cutting board like this, and then just slice down. So if I wanted to, and I had a little more of this stuff in the center, I'd get rid of it. And now cutting wedges. Sometimes people could just make slices like so, little half slices like that, and that's perfectly fine. And we can put that guy on the other side, all right? There is also, and I'll show you this, a way to cut in between each one of these segments so you have no pulp or, for lack of a better term, white stuff at all. Then you get a wedge that looks something like this. Now I'm just showing this to you, but if I wanted to, and I do believe this is probably a little more wasteful for a product, I kind of like the slicing in half and then cutting in this manner better, because again, there's a lot of waste. But if you're dealing with competition and it's a very particular kind of presentation, this is very, very clean, okay? Can you see that okay? All right, super. So what we're gonna do now is we are gonna take this, it's melted, hopefully you have a good eye on it, it's not brown on the bottom side, but I would then need to take my omelet and I would need to fold it. Oops. Okay, I had a little accident there. We'll move it to the side. It is a little brown, but some people like it that way, so it's not the end of the world. But what I want you to think of is if you were serving this in a restaurant, you want to try and keep a border of about 1 inch around the plate where it there's no food, because this is for the server. They would be holding this part of the plate to take it to the table. And also, I think there's better eye appeal when you do it this way. So here we go. I've got my strawberry, got my oranges, my cantaloupe, and then my omelet. What could I do now with the omelet? Well, a number of things. I know that this red kind of clashes, but if you were a person that really liked salsa with your omelet, you can choose to spoon it on top. It would clash a little bit with the strawberry. So my preference would probably not be to put the salsa on top, but on the inside before I, put it on the plate. All right, so it's there on the side for people who might like to eat it with their cheese omelet, but this is our lab for tomorrow, and hopefully everybody will have a really good experience. Thank you.